Liverpool have invested a decent amount of time in the likes of Ben Doak, Bobby Clark, and others along the way as well. There's clearly supreme talents on there, very highly regarded. We've seen what they did in flashes last season. Certainly Bobby Clark actually scored against, was it Slavia Prague in the Europa League he scored against? Had moments, came on the Carabao Cup final, looked really good as well. And I know both of them have had their injury problems along the way. But I can't be convinced that there's not at least value in loaning those two out, whether it's just to fatten them up or whether to come back and be potential Liverpool players of the future. So the talk of them two potentially having permanent exits this summer is crazy to me. And part of the reason it's crazy is because I hope this doesn't happen, by the way. But Arne Slot may not ultimately be the man for Liverpool Football Club. And if we're making hard and fast decisions based on what he's seen and his beliefs and his style and his identity for this football club on these really supremely talented youngsters, that feels a little bit crazy.
Can I give you an example just from champ manager, football manager type things where you start, you've got a player and you might have someone who's an out-and-out right winger, but if you play 3 central attacking midfielders and not a 4-4-2, you're like, well, like Steve McManaman from a classic kind of days, like, I'd love to see Steve McManaman work, but if you don't play that formation, what are you keeping Steve McManaman for? You know, you might want this to work, and I wonder a little bit whether players that fit to the clock midfield fall between two stools for an Arne Slot. And I'm not, you know, there's a chance that like we were pairing over Gravenberch and Jones has impressed so far. I mean, they've got a couple of things on their side. They're already, under 21, heading towards senior sort of level. They've got over 100 senior appearances at top level football under the belt, or there or thereabouts for Gravenberch. I wouldn't like to say that for absolute certainty, but I'm sure it's close. And they're 6-footers as well. So someone like Bobby Clark, is he going to play in the 10 for Liverpool? Probably not. And does he have the physique or the technical abilities to play as a 6? No. He would probably be a good 8, and he certainly looked good as a prospect in an 8. So you're right, but I think you have got to buy into the manager at this point, because otherwise he's just going to sit there doing what?
Oh yeah, I'm not ruling out a departure. I'm just ruling out a permanent one.
Yeah.
I don't personally see the sense now. When we've loaned out so many players down the years and had rewards off the back of it, Conor Badley, Joel Quansah, Harvey Elliott, of course, I think these two lads in particular are 12, 18 months too young, too fresh in their development to be saying no, they're not good enough. Personally, that's where I'm at with it anyway.
Yeah,
sorry, Dan. I'm sticking with you on this because I think it's a good point, but I think it merits sort of like let's stand up a bit. I think it's Carvalho would be the exception to what I'm about to say, but you go and loan a central midfielder out to the Championship or low-end Premier League, I'm not sure. It depends what we get for him, because if we get 10 to 12 million pound for him, I'm not 100% sure that a Championship loan makes him more valuable than that.
Okay.
Whereas Carvalho is the exception, because Carvalho goes to the Championship and scores double figures goals and plays at that level. So he's got the ability to actually definitely add something to output to your game. And I just wonder whether it's a bit of that, or they're just looking going, it doesn't really fit what we're doing this season. He might not, that's not likely to change next season unless it's disastrous under Slot. And I don't think Bobby Clark is going to be what you don't hedge your bets on Bobby Clark over the manager's future, I don't think.
No, sorry, go on.
But again, it just comes down to what does a year's loan add to that or change that situation for someone like him? And again, it feels like I'm being a twat towards Bobby Clark. I'm genuinely not. I think he's a terrific footballer, but looking at it as cold and logically as I can.
And you have to, because ultimately it exists, and the likelihood is, by all accounts, you could end up leaving on a permanent basis and rejoining Pep Linders over in Austria. But it hasn't done Tyler Morton any harm to go out on loan a couple of times to the Championship now. Liverpool still hold a valuation around 17 to 20 million pounds on him, which is more than we're getting right now for Bobby Clark. And also, Bobby Clark is a more forward-thinking, flamboyant. He's more likely to get the goals and assists actually that would fatten up his value a little bit too. So I'm just a little bit shocked, actually, if I'm being brutally honest about it. That's kind of where I'm at, because I feel like, again, we've put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy into these lads. We've brought them in. We've literally headhunted them, scouted them from around the country, certainly in Ben Doak's case up in Scotland, of course. And it felt like we had a really good thing going with the academy. I'm not saying we're undoing all that hard work, not by any stretch of imagination. But for the sake of, let's call it 10 million for Bobby Clark, if that's what we eventually fall down upon, and let's say, plucking the figure out of thin air, 15 million for Ben Doak, may not even be that much. That, to the Liverpool Football Club, isn't earth-shattering money. It's not dial-moving money. No. It's not money whereby you say, okay, we've got a 19-year-old in Bobby Clark and an 18-year-old in Ben Doak, lads who we believed at one point in time, only 2 years ago in certain cases, could be the next big things. I don't see the sense, personally, in this summer going, no, they're not the right people.
Anyone else want to join in before I go back on this again?
I agree with them. Well, I think Doak and Clark are very different. That's the thing I think, is that your point on Clark makes sense and your point on Doak makes sense. Is that I would not get rid of Ben Doak. We looked at those two teams yesterday. The drop-off in quality, I think, is only really evident at right wing from Salah to Ben Doak. Everyone else you can make an argument is similarly good. Obviously, I think Nat Phillips is the only exception, but we had Joe Gomez, Van der Beek, so it's a bit different. But our two teams, the right wing is the weakest part we've got. If Ben Doak's the second best right winger, we shouldn't really be getting rid of the second best Eddie. So we've got, never mind, look at anything else. So I think, and last season he was going to be our Europa League player till he got injured, which was so unfortunate. He could have started in the Euros, got injured again. Obviously, you can't guarantee he won't keep getting injured, and this could be his career. But I certainly wouldn't give up on him. Clark and McConnell, I think, similar as well. Neither of them are looking yet on the slot, and to make such a point about saying we're giving everyone a chance, I think it is short-sighted to sell them and not give them both a loan maybe, or even just put them in the reserves and watch them in the academy a bit as slots before you do anything else.
The one thing that I want to say, and just to move this conversation forward, because I want to ask you a question about it, is there anyone else who's in the squad who you thought was absolutely nailed on a vital part of Liverpool's future, who from what you've seen you've got a slight inkling that they maybe might not? Because I think we've forgotten this because it's been so long since we've had a manager come in, and have a first summer. Rafa Benitez one stands out to me, and he just looked at Danny Murphy and went, yeah, you look like a decent footballer, but actually I'd rather own Xabi Alonso. Or I'd rather own Luis Garcia. And Danny Murphy could have done a job for another 5 to 10 years at Liverpool and been a very good squad and maybe even more player for us. But sometimes managers just want to make moves for what their next thing looks like. So I think Clark is almost like an irrelevant example of that. But is anyone else looking at anyone in that squad and going, ooh, if we get a bid in for him, he might not be as stable as we think.
Slightly mad one. And you just said bid there, so that kind of pushes back against what I'm about to say. I don't think he's surplus requirements by any stretch of imagination. Quite the opposite, actually. But if there was loan interest and suitors for Stefan Bajcetic, I would consider them at this point. And I think he has one hell of a ceiling at Liverpool Football Club, by the way. However, he's played so little footy, and the more I see him, I've seen him quite a lot in person back end of last season in the academy and stuff, seen him a little bit when he came back into the first team fold, at the very back end of last season. He looks a long way off from the Stefan Bajcetic we knew in that 10-12 game spell a while back, and I think he might need a lot of work to get back up and running again. And whether Arne Slot's new Liverpool, with the new ideas and all the new identity, all the new systems it needs to implement, whether he has time to get Stefan Bajcetic up and running again whilst doing all that, I'm not certain. So I wouldn't have said this 3 weeks ago, by the way.
Yes.
But right now, sitting here, if there was genuine, and it had to be that Liverpool do a lot of due diligence on their loan stuff recently. We've not been shy of cutting loans short if we believe they're not working. We'd have to get the fit right without a shadow of a doubt. But if there was that fit for Stefan Bajcetic, I would be tempted. There'd be no interest in a permanent deal, by the way. But if a good loan became available, I would at least consider it.
Thoughts? Anyone?
Yeah, I think he does need the game time to get back up to speed. And like
what was your reaction to him being linked with a make-weight deal with the Zubimendi thing?
I didn't mind it. I thought Spanish player. He literally, for me, is the mould of what Zubimendi does for that Real Sociedad, and that is exactly what I think Arne Slot wants in his DM number 6. And I think Stefan Bajcetic can do that. We've seen how many he's not afraid to go and pick the ball up with a man on and turn on it. And sometimes towards the end of last season, because he wasn't that sharp, and because he just hadn't played a competitive game of football in ages, he was holding on to the ball too many times and he was picking it up in dangerous areas and losing it. So I think, that fitted the style, but from a Real Sociedad point of view, I don't think they were interested in that at all. But yeah, I think he needs game time, and I would hate to limit his development because I think he can be a superstar. I really do. And if right now, if Ryan Gravenberch is playing that 6, say we get Zubimendi in as well, you've still got Wataru Endo here at this moment in time.
Where's he playing?
Like, where is he getting that game time? So I would loan him out if a good team came in for him. You have to play the similar style to what Arne Slot wants. He's got to be playing that role. He can't be playing a number 8 somewhere up the pitch.
My annoyance on the Bajcetic stuff is that this is not my Europa League argument, where we played Europa League football last year and everyone looks great, but then you play Champions League football and you forget sometimes you don't, everyone knows it's a step up, but sometimes you forget that the players have got to perform on a different level. Bajcetic was starting against Real Madrid for us in midfield and holding his own before the injury. So he's definitely got that quality. And I did look, I had a real up and down roller coaster hour in my own little head last week where I was going, Zubimendi, get him learning off him, and then all of a sudden that's your partnership midfield in years to come. And then it was, go and fill that gap, go and fill his shoes back at Sociedad and follow that path, and then come back to us a more rounded footballer. And now they don't want him; they just want us to pay the release fee or whatever. I'd need to see where he's going to feel comfortable with that. But it's also, remember, sometimes this happens. Young lads who will go, he's on the pathway, and new managers come in and just go, it's not my boy.
I think it's less that with him, more lack of football is the problem.
I'm just worried at how little Slaughter's effused about him. He's had opportunity to do it, and actually in reality he's just gone. He's just talked about how not ready he is. So maybe it's very clear that he needs to go and play
I think
elsewhere.
Endo's role in the game yesterday as well is, it's again, we don't know obviously, but that argument is that putting him in a shop window so Bajcetic gets that role as backup, or is Bajcetic not playing at all? I mean, he's definitely going, because you would think surely that if you have the choice of Endo, who just always looks fit and ready to play, and you've got Bajcetic, who looks like he's desperate for minutes, to not give him that second game is quite baffling. There must be a reason for it, which is either he's not ready or you don't want him in the team.
And the readiness thing's important, and there might just be a case where, again, I'm sure if a bid comes in, we will sell Tyler Morton now, but if you don't get an acceptable bid and Tyler Morton sticks around as a member of the squad, is he more ready to do a bit of six for Liverpool than an unfit, unsharp Bajcetic and Bobby Clark as an example? Yeah, he probably is. He's just, he's 21 years old. He's more physically developed. He's played first team football. He's played Champions League football for Liverpool. No one's coming in with it. If no one's coming in with that kind of bid, you've got a bunch of players floating around the periphery who are far too good for the under-21s, but not definitely quite good enough for the first team yet. Yeah, decisions.
You can't have a summer where you sell Clark, McConnell, Bajcetic and Morton. There's no way all four of them could go. Well, no, they can't, but it's to know who's sold, who's loaned, who goes where is hard. Thankfully, it's not my decision.
My random shout on this, by the way, is Dominic Szoboszlai.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah. I thought mine was mad.
No. Not because, I love
benched or sold?
And I think Darwin fits into this a little bit, and it's too soon for
Darwin before.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's not a. Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive events. What I'm saying is that I've not seen enough of Darwin play. He's not played a proper game for us yet, because he played in the second string team in front of no fans. So he'll be given every opportunity, and so will Dominic Szoboszlai. And look, he sets up a goal at the weekend. He certainly got better as the game went on, but playing. Well, I've seen Harvey Elliott play the 10 and understand perfectly why he plays that role and how he's going to play it for us. Watching Szoboszlai do it, I was a bit like, he just looked, the game totally passed him by for a stretch. He looked really disinterested in lots of what was going on around him. And then, again, he got better. I'm not actively looking to sell him, by the way, but I'm just saying, just for conversational sake, if there's... He's in an awkward position, I think, of what I'm talking about. Because is he a 10? Is he a 6? I know he was a winger by trade. Could he be used as a bit of that? Maybe from the right hand side as another sleeper mount. I don't know.
No.
But he falls. I'm a little concerned that he falls between that he's an 8 and we don't play 8s at the moment.
Yeah.